What was the clubhouse reaction to Caleb Joseph last night?
I think overall he got passing marks. There was some teasing about, hey, now you got to get that first hit. I mean, his first plate appearance and he shatters his bat. And I don't think the club saves the handle of a bat for a guy when that happens in his major league debut. But they're more interested in what he does behind the plate. And, there are going to be some rough patches. Bud Norris basically said, hey, he was all right. There were things he liked about him. He liked his energy, he liked the way he framed pitches. But you could tell they weren't always on the same page. I think that's what Bud was kind of hinting at as far as with signs. And, I've been told that Bud's kind of a tough guy anyway. He thinks a lot outside the box. I don't mean outside the strike zone, but he's kind of a hard guy as far as determining a pattern with him. He likes to go different ways than where you might normally go. And if you're not real familiar with him, he's going to be shaking you off. So you've got to work on that. I think there was a little bit of a mix-up with a sign in the ninth inning on a pickoff that Buck said, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time. If they'd gone ahead with it, there wasn't even a runner on that base they were going to throw to. So those are things that, he's still getting comfortable with. But overall, the word on him is that everybody likes pitching to him, the way he calls a game, and his enthusiasm for what he needs to do, the sacrifices you have to make to be a good catcher. So these guys like him, but there are going to be some rough patches still because he's still learning signs, he's still learning pitchers.
Now, Roch, the Orioles have 4 left-handers in the bullpen. Is that too many?
I think so, and I think it's going to be a good trivia question, though. I don't have the answer. If somebody wants to look it up, the last time this club had 4 left-handers in a 7-man pen, I can't remember that happening. And I asked Buck, would you prefer having 4 righties? And he said, hey, I prefer having 7 guys that can get out. So as long as you have lefties that can also defend themselves against right-handers, you should be okay. You can't have 4 lefty specialists, obviously, and Britton's been so good against lefties and righties. However, the only reason they've got that 4th lefty is they needed a true long man, and that had to be T.J. McFarland because they needed length in the bullpen. If Josh Stinson had been pitching better, he would be that guy, and he's a righty. So for now, they'll stick with this alignment, but there are going to be some issues you would think down the road because Buck doesn't want to use Ryan Webb. He doesn't want to use Darren O'Day in the same game, and it's going to be tough to avoid that. He said, hey, if I have to win a game, I'll do it. But when your only other right-hander is your closer, that could present problems. So I think somewhere down the line, they're going to have to switch back if Stinson's pitching better or Meek or somebody, but you really do need a guy like Stinson because you need a true long man in that pen.
Obviously, Matt Wieters is one of the top 5 hitters in baseball right now. Tell us a little about now. He's going to be the DH. Who's that going to hurt in the Orioles lineup?
I think really 2 guys that come to mind. First of all, David Lowe, because if nothing else, he would have been sharing time in left field with Nelson Cruz. When Cruz is a DH, he would have been the left fielder. Now, Cruz is that everyday left fielder, so Lowe's really going to have to be the defensive specialist, basically a late inning replacement, which he was these last 2 games. Otherwise, pinch runner here and there, but he's going to lose at-bats. The other guy, obviously, is Delman Young, because he's primarily a right-handed DH. If Matt's DHing, Delman's on the bench. This guy's hitting .315, and he would have been in the lineup tonight. He has good numbers against David Price. Buck just couldn't make it work. So Buck said the way he could get him in the lineup, you move Cruz to right field, you put Nick Markakis at first, you could do that. But also, Matt Wieters was taking ground balls at first base today. So that gives them another option to free up that DH spot. Of course, Matt's only played 1 game at first in the majors. That was in 2011. He started that game. But he did take ground balls today. So Buck's going to try and find some ways because he doesn't want Delman sitting too long. And again, the guy's hitting .315. We know what he normally does against lefties. You want him in that lineup every once in a while.
Now, Roch, when you look at a tight pennant race like the Orioles and everybody is in the American League East, the Orioles are 4-0 against the Rays. If they were 0-4, they'd be in last place, but they're in first place. The one big thing to me about this whole thing is it's a rivalry that nobody's really even talking about.
I missed the last part.
It's a rivalry between the Orioles and the Rays that nobody really even talks about.
It really is. It seems like they always have their games in September when it really matters, and we know weird things happen at the Trop all the time. And so, yeah, it really has developed into that, and not just the competitiveness, how good these 2 teams are going head-to-head, but some of the little side stories with the Grant Balfour situation, Coco Eaton. If you want to see the hair stand up on the back of Buck Showalter's neck, mention Coco Eaton, and some other things that have gone on, a little bit of snipping here and there. So it really has developed into quite an interesting rivalry, and you're right, it's not just Red Sox and Yankees anymore. The Rays are really the team they've got to learn to beat down the stretch.
Well, Roch, one thing we want to encourage everybody to buy Orioles Magazine because there's a big article on you in there.
Try not to hurt the sales, Tom.